Welcome to the CEO Tech Talks podcast, where vision meets impact. I am your host, Ambreen Ahmed. Each episode, I sit down with exceptional leaders who are shaping the future of business, technology, and transformation. This show is about more than just success. It's about clarity, purpose, and those bold decisions that light the way forward. Join me as we uncover the insights, challenges, and breakthroughs from today's most inspiring voices. Leaders who are redefining what it means to lead in a rapidly changing world. This is CEO Tech Talks. Let's dive in. Today, we're exploring the future of customer experience with someone who's not just watching the shift, he's engineering it. Tariq Alinur, CEO of BrainCX AI, has spent decades transforming how companies support customers through AI, automation, and human-centered design. Welcome, Tariq, and thank you for joining.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here. Thanks for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into it. Tell us about your role at BrainCX AI and what BrainCX AI is all about.
Sure, BrainCX AI comes from my past and my history in the customer experience industry, typically referred to as business process outsourcing. A little bit about me, I was the former CEO and also led many startups in the BPO industry. I started one of the very first BPO companies over in Asia. It's actually a publicly traded company today for JP Morgan as the chief country officer there as well in the Philippines, building a very large mortgage servicing business, and worked for Apple for a number of years, building contact centers for them all throughout the world, from places like Brazil, China, France, Malaysia, and the Philippines. And so my entire history has really been circulated around providing excellent and world-class customer service for the biggest brands in the industry. And a few years ago, we started BrainCX as a outsourced contact center focused on digital strategies and digital channels like messaging as an example. But about a year and a half ago, we decided to make a fundamental shift of the business. And I often tell people, what we do today, we just literally could not have done this 365 days ago. The technology is brand new, it's evolving, but evolving at a very rapid pace. And where we're playing within and our industry space now is voice AI, customer service, sales, through very highly engaging voice AI agents. And so from having several hundred agents previously in contact centers in the past, we now have our entire model is voice AI agents providing service across the globe. It's an exciting field. Everyone's trying to learn more about AI and how to leverage this. There's a lot of noise within the industry, so I'd love to chat with you about that and some of the confusion out there. But I think where we have really focused in on and learned that, where there's a gap in this industry is building a platform from a CX perspective. And I think what you'll find a lot, there may be other voice AI platforms out there, but they're built from a programmer perspective, a developer perspective. Our business has been built from a CX and CX leadership perspective. What we lean into is what we call the science of human communication. And so would love to talk to you more about what that means and how this works. But just in a snapshot of what we're doing today is providing voice agents into highly regulated industries like the healthcare sector, the higher ed sector as an example. Certainly looking forward to growing that business using this voice AI platform.
Okay. Well, thank you for that brief intro.
Sure.
You've spent years shaping customer experience. What originally drew you into the world of CX and automation?
Part of it started with being an actual agent on the phone. So I'm really one of those examples where I started off on the phones taking customer calls when I worked at Citibank. I actually got into the call center industry as a job like many people working their way through college and needing a part-time job. So I'm one of those individuals that started at the bottom, but I rapidly was able to get promoted and really found the industry fascinating because being able to reinvent CX and creating great customer experiences is one of those things in life which I think we have a unique opportunity to truly influence. And what I mean by that is, like you and many people, we're all very frustrated by the poor customer service that's out there today. I think many brands have made it very difficult for you to interact with them. And so as my journey has increased and evolved in the many years, I got into this and really stayed focused in this because I really wanted to reinvent CX or customer experience and just create a better way to communicate with brands. And so that's what's got me fully engaged in this.
Okay. So what does a typical day look like for you?
Yeah, like any business, I start off my day with looking at the numbers. I think that you're only as good as your performance. And so I typically look at our customers, how did they perform? Our technology, is it performing at the adequate level and exceeding expectations? But my typical day starts with a review around our platform, around how it's performing for our customers. We're engaged in a lot of demos now with many prospective clients that have found this to be the next chapter of where they need to evolve in. So I have a lot of demos that we do throughout the day. And then I spend a great deal of my time really working with our engineering team to really craft these conversations, evolve the platform, and really take advantage of a lot of this innovation that's happening daily.
Mhm.
Again, even 30 days ago, some of the things we do today just didn't exist. And so we're constantly iterating and making the platform better. I spent a lot of it with the engineering team and a good part of my day speaking to customers, both customers we serve and potential customers.
So you just mentioned that, something 30 days ago has evolved. How is that impacting your business strategy, your go-to-market strategy when this change is happening so rapidly?
Yeah, the technology and the ability to have a real human like conversation is only getting better. And so our go to market strategy is about how do we deliver the best optimal communication with our clients or their customers. And so
Mhm.
the technology only allows us to be even better at it daily. I'll give you a very quick statistic, right? Human communication, when I speak and you speak, we call that turn taking. When this technology started, it was still about 2,000 to 3,000 milliseconds, which doesn't seem long, but it's that inevitable what you hear when it takes some lag or time for the AI to respond back to you. You can identify it. We've gotten that down to about 250 milliseconds now, which is where human communication's right at. We've gotten so good now in the last 60 days that we're now at 100 milliseconds. In fact, we've had to slow it down because it's more unnatural when you're speaking that quickly and responding. So that's just a
Okay.
great example of how you can make the technology better and how we're actually using that to mimic the, again, the science of human communication.
So what major shifts are you seeing right now in your industry?
So I think a lot of customers have been outsourcing as well as having multiple call centers here in the U.S. Many of them are challenged in our regulated sectors with being able to grow fundamentally because the cost continues to rise for human capital. There's large attrition, and then many times it's just hard to attract. What I'm so proud about what we've been able to do is no one has ever lost their jobs with the clients we serve. What we have been able to do is make them much more effective so that the mundane things, the day to day challenges that they have, we can take the bulk of that and handle that through AI and allow those human assets to really work on high touch interactions with the customer. And so I think that's what really gets me jazzed up is that this technology is benefiting so many of these customers, again, in North America, where we primarily focus right now, in helping them reduce costs, but more importantly, to grow their business without adding significant human capital costs.
Okay. And how has this rise of AI automation and cloud adoption impacted your clients' business models and client demand?
Yeah, it's incredible. I'll give you a quick example. Our most recent client in the higher education space, very quickly with the talent that they had in house, they were able to make about 335 appointments in a given month, right? Or contact that many customers. When we launched our recent pilot with them for 45 days, 33x that performance. So we were scheduling thousands of appointments for them, which they could never been able to facilitate with the small staff that they have at hand. So not
Hmm.
only have we tripled or quadrupled their business ultimately with more
Hmm.
revenue, We've
Hmm.
kept their costs down without adding a single headcount. So I think that's what's really exciting about this. It's allowing these customers to truly grow their business with a lot of that, additional costs that they would normally have to incur.
Okay. It sounds like there's a lot of success in it for
Yeah.
BrainCX AI. What's working exceptionally well for your company and what's been most frustrating?
So I think what's been really different, what we're doing that's unique is so we've focused in on what we call an SLM. And we look at that as a two-sided sword, if you will. One is speech language models. So we replicate the attributes of the best agents. Our clients' agents who are the top performers, we all know who those individuals are. We asked them for about 45 minutes of those agents' phone calls, and we build a speech language model based on the voice, the pace, the word choices, and just the quality of those individuals. So we have the speech language model that's very dialed in to our clients. And then we use a small language model, which is very different than the large language models we hear about every day, like ChatGPT. We built these small language models very specific to a vertical like higher ed or healthcare, so that when the voice AI agent is working, it's not looking across lots of information in order to answer a
Hmm.
question. It's only focused in on relevant information. And this is one of the most important parts, I think, about AI and where we're using this. AI does hallucinate. It can give you incorrect information. But if you use these small language models, then you build what I call guardrails around it. You're eliminating that and the ability for AI to potentially give you incorrect information or
Hmm.
information that you wouldn't want to be communicated. So our model with the small language model and the speech language model, we think is really fundamentally different and really providing that, next level of service.
Okay. And what's been most frustrating for you as you scale?
Yeah, the biggest challenge for us right now is the noise in the industry. There's so many people getting into this space and they'll run, say, hey, you can get a voice AI for $99 a month. Well, that's probably true, but what are you really getting for that? And when you dig into it and realize that what you're getting is the same old IVRs and really bad communication with lots of gaps, navigating through that and seeing companies make mistakes in investing in technology where they really can't fully take advantage of that. So I think a lot of this for us where it's challenging is just cutting through the noise
Hmm.
and being able to get clients to understand the value of where having expertise around CX, as well as a platform that's built to suit their environment, is so fundamentally important. I think as more of this technology continues to evolve, it's cutting through that noise is what's really important.
Okay. And how are you addressing that right now?
Yeah, I think, the use cases that we're building, the demos that we have, we can really effectively showcase performance. And we have great use cases around the results from that performance.
Hmm.
There's a very interesting statistic that's out there. You can find this 90% of most AI initiatives today are failing. And the reason for that is because if you think about it, most organizations don't have AI experts in house. They don't know how to use these tools and platforms. And the value of a company like BrainCX AI that can come in, really built to suit for you and take care of all of it, your ability to really succeed in that implementation exponentially grows. And so I think that's really where the secret sauce is coming in with a team of experts that understand the domain and understands the technology that can build it and implement it for you. So I think that's really the hardest part to this is that I see so many companies invest in tech. It sits there, it takes months to deploy, and they don't see the value out of it or the ROI that they're looking for. And I think that's what we do really well is to achieve those ROIs in a very, very short window.
Okay. Thank you for going into depth on that, especially how you're working with the SLMs versus training the AI voice agents. And is this for inbound or outbound calls?
So we do both. We can do both. Now, on the outbound side, we don't do cold calling with this technology. That's illegal. It's not regulated to allow us to do that. What we are doing, though, is following up with people that have indicated interest with the brands that we're servicing. And so that is a typical outbound conversation. But much of this is inbound types of interactions, scheduling appointments, collecting data. For example, I'll give you a quick one, which I think is where this will really revolutionize patient care in the future. We are all frustrated when we go to the urgent care, to the doctor. They give you a clipboard or an iPad, and you're sitting there, having to fill something out, especially when you're not feeling well.
Hmm.
Imagine going forward now using a voice AI platform where you can speak before you get to the appointment and fill out that entire form just by a natural human-like conversation. Once it's all filled out, you get a text message for you to review the form and digitally sign that. That's what I think is really going to revolutionize how patient care can be delivered using this technology to improve the way we communicate and remove a lot of the redundancy that we see in a lot of organizations.
Okay. So, in your business at BrainCX AI, which metrics are you personally most focused on improving?
There's a couple. I think first contact resolution, that's a very overlooked number. And this is very true with many of the companies that have outsourced overseas. If someone is not happy, they're just going to call back again or send an email or chat in addition to making a phone call. First
Hmm.
contact resolution means, did you take care of that consumer the first time they contacted you? It's a number that we measure and we look at every single day because it's a measure of efficiency, but it's also a measure of quality. So it's one that we really pay attention to. The other is a typical number that we measure is customer satisfaction. Was the interaction, was the customer leaving that interaction feeling like they got what they were looking for? And more importantly, was it done in a very effective and natural way? So we look at CSAT as well.
Hmm.
And so those are probably the two big ones, I think, in the CX space that most companies look at. But this first call resolution is one that's a hidden metric that many people do not fail to pay attention to. And that's where the hidden cost comes in. If someone has to continue to call back multiple times, that just drives your costs up. And, I think more brands need to pay attention to that.
Okay. Now, when you mentioned these two metrics that you want to improve upon, is this for your client or for your own business?
Well, both. I mean, ultimately in our business, I think the beauty of AI is we can get very deep into analytics. I think where we're heading with this is being able to provide much more than those KPIs, but real insights into what the customer's frustrations are, their behaviors, what is working. So we actually look at something called sentiment as well. During a phone call, we can hear those subtle word choices, the tone of the customer to judge if they're happy, they're confused, those types of things. Being able to score that quickly with AI allows us to know if the AI is performing correctly. And if it is, be able to iterate the AI so that the next phone call can achieve the same types of success. That level of insight and the ability to apply those insights quickly is
Hmm.
something that we're able to do with AI that we just couldn't really replicate in the human model. So I'm very excited about that and the amount of insights that we can gain through listening to these phone calls with the tool.
Okay, that's so interesting, fascinating.
Yeah.
Do you think that you mentioned that this is a unique value proposition that you are using, and it differentiates you in the market? How is that impacting your competitive advantage?
Yeah, it's a great point. And, we've seen a lot of growth in this sector. The voice AI sector, I think, is one of the hottest investment trends at the moment. And we have a number of competitors that build voice AI platforms. And when we stack up head to head next to them, we've won RFPs. Because our platform has been perceived to be a lot better in regards to human communication, natural, and being able to complete tasks. And
Hmm.
so I'm always proud about when we see that in a real RFP scenario, but more importantly, when we're implemented or go head to head in a champion challenger environment. And so I think this space here, when you look at it from the investment side of it, I think it's where many companies see that, or many portfolio companies that are looking at this space to invest in realize a massive opportunity here. Another piece that's actually one that we're seeing a lot more demand for is for language translation. We
Okay.
are able to do this in 40 plus languages now. We over time, I'm sure that number will increase, but there's about 40 languages depending on what the customer speaks. You don't have to press one or two or three for a language. You just start speaking naturally, and the AI will respond back to you in your language of choice.
Wow.
It's
Okay.
incredible.
That sounds that's a game changer.
It is.
And so where do you see the biggest opportunity for BrainCX AI's growth over the next year?
Again, we've started off in the higher education space and
Hmm.
healthcare. Certainly, I think healthcare is massive. I mean, this is a broken system. And as we are able to implement more solutions in this space, we think that we could be the preferred provider for scheduling, insurance claims, a lot of the different, tasks that a healthcare plan may go through. We also are seeing some huge opportunities in the travel sector, in the insurance sector, and the tech sector. But before we get deep into those sectors or use cases, we want to really build out these SLMs around those sectors. But I think the demand right now for things that we do day to day, especially in the healthcare sector where we're calling doctors' offices. I'll give you one short example. I called a cardiologist. I called six of them yesterday. I was not able to speak to a human. In most cases, they went to a voicemail. And in several incidents, it just hung up on me. I was
Hmm.
never able to schedule that appointment. That's a bad, impression of where our healthcare is today. This technology could have simplified that process, cured my insurance information, booked that appointment, and complete that task in minutes. And that's where I think the beauty of this opportunity is. The healthcare sector is so ripe for a lot of these opportunities. And I think AI is just primed to fill a lot of those gaps.
What kind of resistance do you hear from the healthcare space when you are able to reach somebody?
I think the healthcare sector, as an example, again, goes back to some of that confusion, is making sure that we don't risk HIPAA compliance with patient information.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things we're most proud of is our platform is HIPAA compliant, SOC 2 compliant. There's a number of other certifications in these sectors, and is you sort of just need to have these in place to give the protection so that there's no risk of data leak. The reality is there is data leaks that are happening. There's a lot of cyber attacks that are happening, and
Hmm.
building a platform that's hardened and will protect that, I think it's really important because there's so much risk and loss financially if that ever occurs. So I think that's like the number one thing we hear a lot is making them convinced that our systems are protected so that they could not incur any type of financial loss or risk of exposing any type of patient information.
Okay. If you could solve one major challenge in the CX industry today, what would it be?
This may sound like an odd response, but our biggest challenge right now is that many of our clients' systems are antiquated, old, and they haven't really invested in the ability for them to be integrated into third-party tools. This goes back to, all this technology that's being built will only work if you can actually complete a task. And so I think the secret to where we're really seeing the opportunity is being able to connect to the various technology platforms that are out there. Let's just take healthcare as an example. There's many medical record platforms that are out there, but there's still, a lot of reluctance in those companies to change and to build the integrations into their tools. And the sad reality of that is until they've come on board with AI and opened up their platforms for companies like us to integrate in, it does make it very challenging to complete those tasks and to take a patient through the complete journey. And
Hmm.
so, from my perspective, if we could find the secret hidden sauce into getting connectivity into these third party tools, and there's a number of ways that we can do that, but I don't think there's one secret sauce to doing that today. And unfortunately, many companies are just just not where they need to be from structured data and having API integrations available. So that's the area I think from our perspective, is the biggest challenge when we work with clients is those integration pieces.
Okay. Where do you want BrainCX AI to be 6 to 12 months from now?
Yeah, I think, in the next year, if we're thought of as the thought leader, number one in this industry,
Mhm.
especially from the customer experience perspective, I think that's where we really want to head. We want to be the preferred solution for most of our customers, especially in higher education, healthcare, and other industries that we think we could lead in. But because we've focused in on really highly regulated industries, we think that that security that we can provide to our clients can not only be trusted, that our platform is safe, it's compliant, but also it's providing the best experience with the most empathy to their customers. I think that's where we want this platform to get to over the next year, is that we are going to have these SLMs that are really the number one choice for these verticals.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing all this insight into BrainCX AI. Now we'll just shift over into some fun rapid fire questions to wrap
Sure.
up. What's one
Okay.
tech tool you can't live without?
ChatGPT, I use it all day long. I go between ChatGPT and Perplexity.
What's a misconception about AI and customer service that drives you crazy?
I think there's a misconception that the robots are going to take over, and I truly believe that is not the case. There's enough guardrails and tools that you have to build into this, but the
Mhm.
robots will not take over. It just makes us much more effective in our day-to-day jobs.
Okay. Finish this sentence. The companies that win in CX will be the ones who.
Are open-minded and forward-thinking. The companies that are open-minded to embrace the change that's inevitably coming, and open-minded and flexible enough to sort of embrace this and to really be open to understanding how this can work for them. Those companies that are closed-minded and want to continue to do things the way that they've always done it are the ones that won't exist 10 years from now or 5 years from now. And we're already seeing that in the two verticals that we're in. They have to change and they need leadership to embrace this and be open minded to it.
Absolutely. Tariq, thank you so much for joining me on CEO Tech Talks. Your perspective on the AI, CX, and future of human centered automation is exactly what leaders need to hear right now. Is there anything you'd like to wrap up with, a call to action, etc., on this podcast?
Yeah, I think my call to action to those of you looking to start an AI journey is go deeper than just the bells and whistles that you see. There are so many cool little things I think that catch our attention and why we may lead into it. But you need to go a little bit deeper. You need to see and to ensure that the people that are leading these firms really get your domain. They understand it. They know how to build around that. And they have, again, no offense to any of these young startups that are happening out there, but being in business for a long time, 30 decades right now, or 40 decades, 4 decades actually. I mean, I think that level of experience and the understanding about CX is what differentiates Brain CX. We understand what great service looks like. And so I say get beyond the bells and whistles, look a lot deeper into the management team and ensure that they truly get your business.
Thank you, Tariq. For listeners, you can learn more at braincx.com.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining CEO Tech Talks. I hope today's conversation sparked new insights and inspiration for your own leadership journey. Until next time, stay inspired, stay visionary, and keep leading with light. Brought to you by Neura AI Consulting.